2024, the year Gypsy Rose Blanchard has theorists questioning her life. Maybe it's a good thing Matt Pat left before getting sucked into this one. Anyways, did you know Gypsy's related to her own husband?
Do not say that again.
Okay, sorry for the scare, but some people actually thought Ryan Anderson, who's Gypsy's husband, was related to her. Let me explain. So as soon as Gypsy was released from prison, all eyes were on her and Ryan. Right away, people were making fun of him for his appearance, and that's when some put a side-by-side comparison of Dee Dee and Ryan. And if you don't know, Dee Dee is Gypsy's mother. Let me just show you. If you couldn't tell, Ryan's on the right side with glasses and Dee Dee is on the left with a puppy. In fact, so many people saw this resemblance that this topic started to trend. Personally, I see it a bit, but it's nothing nearly as close as Ethan Slater, who's Ariana Grande's boyfriend, and her own brother Frankie. What do you think about these people dating people who resemble their own family members? Because apparently it's kind of normal. I don't know what this video turned into, but according to a July 2010 issue of Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, we are attracted to people who resemble our parents or ourselves.
You look so pretty, Daddy.
What girl?
That girl on your phone.
Charlie, that's you. That's you, Charlie.
Same girly, but anyways, yeah, this is a real thing. Let me know if your partner looks just like your parents. Just kidding, that's enough of this one. So do you know who Stassi Schroeder is? Cause if you don't, she's a reality TV star who's best known on Vanderpump Rules. Gypsy and Stassi live separate lives until a genealogist by the name of Dr. Edina Newman revealed an interesting connection. She traces down reality TV stars' family trees and shares her finding onto Instagram. And that's when she revealed there is a distant relationship between Stassi and Gypsy. In fact, they're at a minimum of 11th cousin, which I truthfully don't understand. It's too much for my tiny brain, but apparently this means Stassi and Dee Dee, who is Gypsy's late mother, are 10th cousins once removed. And according to Dr. Newman, she is still digging up more information about the connection because apparently they're related distantly in a bazillion different ways. The closest relative she found was through Antoine Borg and Antoinette Landry, who is connected to Stassi's father's side, and these family members lived in the 1600s. After this was posted, Stassi, who is actually a huge true crime fan, saw this and posted her reaction, writing, "I'm unwell," followed with laughing emojis, skull emojis, and a tomb emoji. Someone find out if I'm related to Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, please. The next theory I actually thought was factual until now. If you watched our other Gypsy Rose videos, I'm sure you've seen me saying Dee Dee was able to fool doctors because of her lost medical files due to Hurricane Katrina. Well,
that was a lie.
Because it turns out doctors did request and receive the majority of her records, including a letter telling them Gypsy did not have muscular dystrophy. Fancy McKelly, who is an investigative journalist, was actually given access to the media files, which actually took up 5 of the largest 3-ring binders she could find. And these are the ones they printed off. These records were not sent to doctors who saw Gypsy once or twice, but rather sent to her primary caretakers and physicians. And I know this whole situation just makes the whole case even harder to understand, but her main doctor, Dr. Beckerman, and his old records, well, no one knows where they are. And he would have known her medical documents weren't lost, plus he would know her entire medical history. Not a single doctor in Gypsy's case has been investigated, which McKelly admits is strange, and there's actually way more mystery surrounding her doctor choice, but we'll get into that in just a bit. One theory about how Dee Dee was able to get away with faking Gypsy's records was that she would go doctor shopping, which basically implied she would go to several doctors and pick the one that would listen and believe her claims, and for the doctors that wouldn't do what she said, would just move on to one that did. But remember Fancy, who we just talked about earlier? Well, she had access to all the medical documents, and she said that the records don't prove this at all. In fact, the same doctors are in the files over and over again, which can imply they knew something wasn't quite right, or at least allegedly. This is so strange because I do think they should have investigated the doctors, because even if they were aware of the situation, they may have certain pieces or information they don't realize would be important. So what do you think about this? Because something smells fishy and I'm not near an ocean. One topic that has been heavily discussed is the difference between Gypsy and Nicholas Godejohn, who, if you don't know already, was Gypsy's ex-boyfriend who, alongside Gypsy, planned and took action on how they would end Dee Dee's life. Unlike Gypsy, Nick is still behind bars as he was convicted of first degree and sentenced to life back in 2018. One theory was that Gypsy's a master manipulator who was able to play the system for sympathy and make everyone feel bad for her. And some believe that there is no way Gypsy would be a master manipulator because she wasn't socialized normally. All she saw was her mother, and her mother was manipulating the world and got everything she wanted. However, obviously I don't know Gypsy herself, so I'm not gonna go too deep in this one, but I do want to know your thoughts. But also, based on interrogation I've seen of Nick, it appears he does have a darker side to him, and if it wasn't Dee Dee, it could have been someone else if he didn't receive help, but then again, I don't truly know. I'm sure you've heard it before that Gypsy was completely in the dark about her illness. She knew she didn't need the wheelchair, but still complied because her mother instructed her to do so. But others believe she may have known a bit more than what she's saying. I actually found one person online to have suffered a similar experience as Gypsy when it came to the wheelchair, and for them, they said they complied with their mom because they were punished every time they didn't do what was told. Plus, they became physically incapable of moving due to all the constant medications, nausea, sedation, malnutrition, tubes, and so much more. And because this is all they knew since birth, they worked alongside their mother to convince people that there was something wrong with her, because that's what she did and was taught to do since birth. And the whole fear of disobeying their primary caretaker, who was also this person's mother, was enough to not consider the option of walking or proving they were actually okay. Most importantly, they said they did not know the behavior was harmful or the way they were treated was wrong, which is also something Gypsy has actively been saying, as Gypsy wants to be an advocate for this exact reason, as she didn't know the signs of being in a harmful relationship even with their own parents. Plus, the isolation, manipulation, and everything in between, I'm sure would be hard to see past. This theory is actually true, at least according to Gypsy, but on one instance, Dee Dee was trying to convince doctors that Gypsy needed to undergo surgery to remove her saliva glands due to her excessive drooling, which wasn't true, but in order to give the illusion that it was, Dee Dee allegedly applied a numbing gel inside of her daughter's mouth before the appointment, and by doing so, Gypsy's mouth was filled with saliva and was able to convince doctors she did need this surgery, and that's when she got her glands removed. Gypsy actually talks about how painful this was and how she suffered long-term side effects to this day, which included a dry throat basically all the time. In interviews, you can see how much she clears her throat, and she says a lot of people find this annoying. But this is something some don't believe because she's capable of licking her lips and producing saliva, and if they were really removed, she wouldn't be able to do so. But according to her medical files, her glands were reduced in size, but not fully removed. There's another theory that Gypsy never took the medication that was filling her medicine cabinet. Gypsy herself said that she would take medication for illnesses such as epilepsy, which she said she didn't even know she didn't have until after her arrest. But some people doubt she took all the medication she was given because Gypsy had no medical issues since her arrest, and the medication she was supposedly meant taking would have caused long-term effects. This led people to speculate that Dee Dee was not really giving Gypsy the medication, but rather hoarding them, because a photo of their cabinet shows a pretty stocked cabinet filled with full unopened medication. And the whole house was completely chaotic, as Gypsy even had to create a path to her mother's bed after too much stuff began to pile on the floor. But the medicine cabinet is the one place that is somewhat organized. Gypsy herself may not even know that she wasn't really taking whatever her mom gave her, because her mom did control a lot of her life. So who knows? Okay, this one focuses more on Dr. Beckerman, who was Gypsy's doctor, and we already discussed some things about him, but there's more. So after Gypsy left LA and moved states, still held his medical license in LA and practiced there, so he continued to see the two. Even after the hurricane, they continued this doctor, and his records have been called unprofessional, filled with lies. Yeah, not my words, but on one visit, Dr. Beckerman stated Gypsy was 13, and on the next visit, just 2 days later, he wrote she was 15. Then the next visit, she was 13 again, which I'm sure we can already tell is not normal. The doctor's notes were changing, and Gypsy also told this journalist journalists that they used to go to Beckerman's house for dinner. I don't know about you, but I've never had dinner with my doctor. And his notes contradict himself. When he can't explain something, he just jumps in and helps Dee Dee. There is so much sketchy practices going on here, but in his own files, he refers to them as his favorite mother and daughter patient, not claiming any of this is true, but maybe investigate into this, I don't know. Finally, the last theory is that Gypsy is not as innocent as she may seem. This isn't my personal thoughts or anything, but I've seen people discussing this since day one, as they don't believe she's really as okay as she is now. I think she's just gone through more than most of us will ever in our entire lives, and in the middle of social media probably isn't helping her mental health. I think the most important thing as of right now is to receive all the support behind the scenes, and maybe once she begins to recover from her past, then be more present online. Honestly, everyone has a different perspective and thoughts on Gypsy, as some believe she did do the one thing that would have led her out of her cycle, whereas others disagree. Well, that's all 10 of the Dark Gypsy Rose Blanchard theories. Have you seen any other theories circulating the internet? And which points on this list do you believe, not believe, or never heard of? Because I was quite shocked reading all the doctor stuff. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and if you made it far, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm your host Melanie with Inform Overload, and I'll make sure to see you next time. Bye bye.